McCarty and his family first came to Serenbe while searching for a getaway from bustling New York City life, particularly during the height of COVID, when people were especially looking for a connection to nature and access to open outdoor spaces, which we know is vitally important. Now the family splits their time between Serenbe and the city, where Philip serves as the executive director of the Fashion Institute of Technology Foundation, which is also known as FIT, where he leads their initiatives in strategic philanthropy, social impact investing, and alumni affairs and engagement to support the college's unique and unconventional heritage. He is also the founder of Good Scout, a social impact consultancy that helps companies, nonprofits, and philanthropists achieve their vision. In this interview, Steve and I chat with Phillips about the importance of getting involved in your local community, giving back, access to nature, and his passion for the arts.
It's probably one of the easiest places to connect to people. And that's what I love about it as well, is that everyone is so open to developing relationships and also just who are our neighbors and what does that look like? Because it's close-knit, it's tight-knit, which I think is really special.
Hi, Phillips. How are you? Welcome to Serenbe Stories.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Looking forward to the conversation this morning.
We always start off the conversation, as Phillips, you know, asking about how did you learn about Serenbe and come to move here?
Well, let's see. It was pandemic time, and my family and I live in New York full time. And so we were really starting to look at what should we do? Where should we go? Since my boys were both in remote school. And I was having a conversation with my nephew who lives in Pensacola, Florida. And we were just talking about different areas that we should look at. And one of the things that Lori, my wife, and I, we're also thinking long term. So we have one in college, one who's a sophomore in high school. And so we started thinking, where do we want to be? Where do we want to be long term? So my nephew was throwing out some different options, opportunities. And then he ended his text to me and said, or you could just move to Serenbe. And I said, what is Serenbe? And he said, just go check it out. And so I went online, looked at the website, and basically looked at it for probably 30 minutes and then turned to Lori and I said, just so you know, this is where we're moving. And, and so anyway, probably about 2 or 3 weeks after that, our family is in Mississippi. So we drove down to be able to go and see family, but we came to Serenbe for the weekend, checked things out. We actually connected with Christy at Serenbe Realty, and we started looking at places for that weekend. We went to visit our family for a week, came back the next weekend. Christy said, I have one more place I need to show you because I really think that you all would like it. We walked into it. We said immediately, this is it. So that's how we landed in Serenbe. It was actually a pretty quick situation.
And what's amazing, it wasn't even on your radar.
It was not on our radar. Now, Steve, I have to tell you kind of a fun story. My sister and brother-in-law came to Serenbe years ago and really loved it, but they're not the ones who told us about it. It was my nephew. But my sister and brother-in-law, they live in Fairhope, Alabama. They just bought several years ago an incredible lead home. It's fabulous. You all would love it. But the front door is inspired by your front door because when they were in Serenbe, my sister saw your door with the front door knob in the center of the door and said she had to have that. And so her builders assured her that they would build that door to her specifications, and it came from your door. And when they came to visit about a year ago, we were going all around the neighborhood trying to figure out where she was inspired by it. And we were at the Blue Eyed Daisy and looked across and we said, oh, it's Steve. So anyway, you were a part of my family long before we even knew that this would come to fruition.
That's fun to hear those stories. So what was on your original checklist that your nephew was going through?
Well, we were originally looking at places that may be close to water because my oldest is a big surfer and he loves the ocean. And so we were looking at Charleston. We were looking at the possibility of, would we want to do something along 30A, even though there's not great surf there, but it's still the beach. And then we also were just thinking about more inland. We were looking at Asheville as a possibility. We've lived in a number of different places. So, of course, we're in New York now. We also lived in Santa Monica for several years. And we did love that. And we thought, we had thought about that as a possibility as well. So really, if you think about it, Steve, not many places that necessarily mimic Serenbe in any sort of way.
Except the cool thing is the location. You can get to some of these places fairly easily.
You're exactly right. And that's what we love about it too, is that we're close enough to Atlanta if we want to go into the city. And then of course we can jump in the car and be at any of those places. So easy. And also close to our family in Mississippi and Alabama and all. So it works out well.
That's great.
I love that. And all those places are super walkable. So probably that was part of what you loved about them. So you just mentioned New York. So you guys, your family splits time between New York and Serenbe. And I know your son is out in California in college, but your youngest has a couple more years. So tell us a little bit about the back and forth.
We try to get to Serenbe as much as we can. It's a little challenging with the high schooler, but we are there during the summers. We come for all the holidays, and then we make random pop-ins. So I'll actually be there in about a week. I'll be there next month for biophilic, and we try to do as much back and forth as we can. We have a dog who is just a little too large to fly, so I'm usually driving her back and forth. So I'm her chauffeur back and forth from New York, and then everyone else flies in. She and I road trip. So anyway, but yeah, it's great. And then my oldest loves it too. I mean, it's kind of funny because we lived in New York for a while, but my oldest claims Georgia as his home. So even when he is in California, when he went off to college, he told everyone that he is from Georgia, not from New York. So he really fell in love with it early on.
That's fantastic. I love that. I'll take that. So one of the things that you do up there, really your full-time job, is with the Fashion Institute of Technology. So you're running all of their advancement and fundraising and the foundation. Tell us a little bit about the Fashion Institute for people maybe who don't know, that's in New York, and then the work that you're doing and how long you guys have been there.
I think that a lot of people like to say that we are the MIT of the fashion industry. And I love that. I love that comparison. And people either absolutely know FIT or they have never heard of it before. And funny enough, it's a community college, but you wouldn't know that because we have bachelor's programs and then also a graduate school. So we have masters as well, but specializing in the fashion industry, Calvin Klein, Michael Kors, many others are graduates. We have some very prominent individuals who have been a part of FIT for many, many years. But beyond fashion, we are also a design school. So we have an incredible art and design program. We have everything from interior design to photography to illustration. And then I would probably say that we have the best fashion business management school really in the nation and probably in the world. I mean, it is our strongest program and a really phenomenal program for us.
That's amazing. So how many students are there? Like, what's the typical enrollment?
We have about 8,000 annually. Many of them live on campus, but many do not. Being in the heart of New York, we're right at 27th and 7th. So really the city is your campus when you go to FIT. So we have a lot of commuters that are part of the programs as well. And I have to say, I'm so amazed and encouraged to see the students and this younger generation that's coming in and their passion and their love for sustainability. It's probably one of the biggest areas that we have really developed further over the last few years. Although, interestingly enough, we have had a sustainability conference at FIT for almost 15 years now. So we were kind of ahead of the game when it comes to fashion and sustainability, which is pretty incredible. So that's a big push and a big focus for us. That along with innovation, we have a Center for Innovation. We have what we call our Design and Technology Lab, where we bring students together from all different types of disciplines. And they are here to solve business issues and business problems. So we have businesses come to us. Tommy Hilfiger, several seasons ago, was trying to look at what the season needed to look like for them. And they actually brought our students together, went through historical information, and they helped create and design the new line for that particular season. The Girl Scouts came to us and were having issues with the fact that older Girl Scouts did not like the uniform. They did not like the way that they looked. And so therefore they no longer wanted to be a Girl Scout. And so our students actually created an entire line for the Girl Scout uniforms, where the Girl Scouts can now go on and select various uniforms that I really would call more fashion looks, that even have interactive badges and what have you that go along with them. So some really unique things that are coming out of that, which is pretty incredible for us.
Well, and you've told me when we're like on the street, some of the students are working on really interesting materials, like using kombucha to make a fabric, or thinking about biology and chemistry in the fashion industry. Is there anything fun like that that you want to share? I just am fascinated by, we should be using more plant-based or more renewable resources. Any fun alumni or student stories like that?
Yeah, actually, two pretty incredible companies that have been born at FIT and are now out there and doing very well. One is called AlgaeNet. It started at FIT several years ago. Students and faculty got together and actually were able to create a fiber out of algae. AlgaeNet is now one of the leading companies in the textiles area. They have received multiple rounds of funding, are doing incredibly well. And that was founded here at FIT with students who said there has to be a way to do this. And so they started looking at seaweed and algae and the way that we could take that and actually create a fiber that would withstand the entire process, the manufacturing, the whole 9 yards, and pretty amazing. So they're out there now doing very well. Another one is a project called Wearwool, which these students were able to find a way to take a swab of your saliva and actually create a synthetic wool that, when compared to a natural wool, so far, no one has really been able to tell the difference. And so they have found that way to take that DNA and that saliva and actually create this wool synthetic. And so anyway, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with theirs. Yeah. And then we have some fun things. Yeah, we have fun things that happen here. We have a dye garden that is actually on the rooftop. So the students plant and actually harvest from the dye garden and then use those dyes in textiles and fabrics and everything that they're creating here. That's an annual project that we have. We have beehives here at FIT. We have a green roof system and everything. So it's part of the fabric, no pun intended, of FIT, which is really great.
So amazing. So another thing that you do, staying in sort of the nonprofit world, is you also are the founder of an amazing group called Good Scout. So consultancy, helping businesses and nonprofits really in a social impact way, which obviously you're doing a ton of at FIT. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So I started the consultancy right after I was at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Memphis. That's really, I'd been there a number of years and really got my legs in fundraising there, I guess I would say, and then moved from there and started the consultancy. Started working with national and international nonprofits originally, focusing on building out fundraising campaigns, or what we would call a platform campaign. So when I was at St. Jude, we had the Thanksgiving campaign, which many people know that every holiday season, you're bombarded with celebrities telling you about St. Jude and to give to St. Jude, and just about every retailer that you walk into, you're asked if you would like to make a donation. It was that type of program that people really started to become very interested in. And so I took that concept and then kind of moved that into a consultancy. And so worked with many nonprofits, American Heart Association, Heifer International, Make-A-Wish, a number of others on developing these platforms and really helping them learn how to work hand in hand with corporations on building and developing funding. And so that really kind of morphed over the years into looking at more business with brands. So Nationwide Insurance, Brooks Brothers, a number of others that we started to help with their social impact programming and their platforms of where they were focusing for their social impact efforts. And now we do quite a bit in organizational development. So, I often like to say that fundraising is not the issue. It tends to be that there are other issues surrounding it. Therefore, your fundraising may not be as successful as it could be. So we really look at organizational development as a whole. How are different areas talking to one another? Is your leadership the right type of leadership for an organization? So it's been great. I have a wonderful business partner and she runs the business day to day. And then I'm still able to consult from time to time. FIT is the full-time job. The consultancy, though, lives on. So it's been really great to still be out there and to be able to see what's happening with so many different organizations right now.
Well, the impact like that is so important, and trying to sort of bubble up the importance of different groups is hard as a consumer, trying to think about where do you place your money beyond, say, your kid's school or your local nonprofit or church. One of the things that you mentioned earlier, we all share a passion for, is biophilia. You're coming to the Biophilic Leadership Summit. I'm not sure if this will be out before or after that, but this is something that the institute that Steve formed, the Biophilic Institute, gosh, how many years ago now, is doing its 5th annual conference, and not as big as the FIT event, very intimate, around 100 people. But tell us, when did you first hear about biophilia, and why is it important?
So I think I probably have always been fascinated with it, but didn't know what it was. So I really would say that not until I became familiar with Serenbe and learned more about the Biophilic Institute and all that you all are doing, and really the concept of Serenbe and then other concepts like that, was I really did that. That's really how I became familiar with biophilia and what is that and what does that look like. I think that I've always had this love and passion for certain aspects of it. For instance, I'm always fascinated with green walls that are inside. With it there, we have a board member here that's on the FIT board, and she built an incredible office in Brooklyn. And I remember walking into it, and here was this phenomenal living wall, and I just fell in love with it. But that was even before I was part of Serenbe and really understanding and knowing what biophilia really is. And so I think that it's been one of those things that I've been fascinated by, but not even realize what it truly was or what it truly is. So it's really been interesting to get to know and get to understand that aspect of it. I love the podcast. I love what you all are doing there with Biophilic Solutions. I'm going to put a little plug in on this podcast to listen to that one, because I think it's really such a great way to understand what we're talking about, and also just so fascinating to see what people are doing in the space.
Well, it's been a lot of fun too, because you've really connected us to FIT. And when I say we, meaning Serenbe and the Biophilic Institute, and we're going to do a cross collaboration where we're going to come talk at the FIT Sustainability Conference. And then one of your professors, Karen, is going to bring probably an alumni or a material specialist to come talk at the Biophilic. So I just think that that's magic of sort of stumbling upon these wonderful people who live here and then thinking about how we can all share information and sort of make the world a better place. One of the things that you've also become involved with is the art farm here. And I don't know if you're on their board or an advisor, but I know you've gotten very connected. So talk a little bit about that, because the work that you, obviously the background at FIT and obviously your full-time professional, but the Good Scout information is so beneficial to an up-and-coming arts and environmental nonprofit like the Art Farm. So talk a little bit about that. Why'd you want to get involved?
First of all, I think it's so important to get involved wherever you may live. I think that that's just something that I feel very strongly about. I don't think that people can or should live in a community and not have some kind of touch point in that community where they are giving back or they're engaging or they are developing. And that's something that I love about Serenbe, is that there's so many different ways to do that. Art Farm just happened to be something that I really fell in love with early on. I was very intrigued by it. I feel like it's in that position where it is just ready to hit its trajectory and go. And I think that there's some exciting leadership taking place with it. What I love is that Art Farm really has something for everyone. And I think that the programming that's being developed is fantastic for not only for Serenbe, but for people outside of Serenbe, for people that can come in, that can enjoy Serenbe and also enjoy the arts at the same time. I think what's very exciting is the long-term plan for Art Farm and seeing what is ahead and what we can develop and what we can do. Again, bringing people in from the outside. Now, I will admit, I like for Serenbe to be a little bit of a secret. I tell people about it all the time, but then I think to myself, did I want to tell that person about it? I'm not sure if I did or not. No, I'm kidding. But everyone knows, anyone who knows me always says, are you going to Serenbe this month? Are you going to Serenbe? Because I talk about it constantly. But what I will say is that I really think that we have a very special master plan overall, but particularly if you look at Art Farm and see what it will be in the future, and just the opportunity to bring artisans in and to bring people who love nature and who love art and kind of combining all that. So it's pretty special. And I have to say, there's some very exciting programming that's lined up for the year. And I think it's going to be a really special moment for Serenbe and also for people coming to and visiting Serenbe. I'm not on the board or anything. I really just love it. And so have engaged with them in various ways to see how I can help.
So now remember, it's fun to only share Serenbe with people you would like to have as neighbors.
That's exactly right.
But the beauty is, we've done such a lousy job of developing places for people to live that everyone kind of wants to shut the gate for cool places. But what we're really showing is because of our connection to nature and the way it's designed, that more people are the additive, and our difficult personality ratio is very low here. And I think it's because nature, even if somebody's having a bad day, they get out in nature, it changes it. So just keep telling the cool people.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, no, listen, I love it. And I have to say that I think it's the blessing and the curse of not living there full time, in that we hate that we're not part of the community constantly, but that will change in 2 years. We have our countdown. I check off on my calendar and have that countdown ready to go. But I will say that when we do come back, it's so fun because it is like meeting new people constantly, because we're not there all the time. So we don't see everyone, and we run into people. We will be out to dinner and we'll be sitting at the bar and we'll have a conversation with someone and start to connect. It's probably one of the easiest places to connect to people. And that's what I love about it as well, is that, everyone is so open to developing relationships, and also just who are our neighbors and what does that look like? Because it's close knit. It's tight knit, which I think is really special.
I totally agree with you. And we're just recording this as the early part of spring. So it's like everybody's been a little like cold and inside and maybe not as active, everybody's on the street. And so yesterday I went out and went to the gym, trying to come back on my golf cart, hadn't been charged up well enough. And so I'm just inching to like a crawl right in front of your house, almost at the general store. This is in the Grange neighborhood for listeners. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just like let the general store know that it's dead because it's sort of not quite in a space. And I'll just go walk down and get my charger and come back. And then there was like our neighbor, John Tiernan, and he's like, I got a strap. I got my golf cart. And so he just like hooked it up and dragged me home. And so that's the other thing, right? There's always somebody who's like, well, and then he came in our backyard and hung out for a little bit, and just chatted. And so those unexpected moments of like, not only like kindness to help you limp home on your dead golf cart, but then just popping by and hanging out for another 20 minutes. I just think that is so incredible and special. And obviously, like, I'm the major champion, but it's so rare today to have those interactions where everybody feels like, I want to help somebody. I feel safe helping somebody. And I think a huge part of it is knowing the people, right? And there's just this openness to get to know everybody, no matter who you are. So I love that. So one of the things that we like to wrap up on, and if there's anything I haven't gone over you want to chat about with FIT or any of the work you're doing or anything fun, please do share. But we love to know. So when a visitor does come for the day, or they're staying for the week, or maybe they're renting a couple months just to check it out, what should they go do? What's sort of one of those things that maybe, it's slightly undiscovered or kind of fun? Maybe we don't want to tell all the secrets, but what's one of your favorite things to share with guests?
I will say, and I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but I think that I would say try to time a visit around some type of great programming. And there is so much. So be it Art Farm, be it when there may be a dinner at the farmhouse. There are a number of other things. Also, although we welcome everyone year round, when the market opens, it's always a fantastic time. So that's always something great to see. But certainly come to relax, but also if you can take in some type of programming, I think it's a special moment for us. So that's what I would say to most people.
Yes. And the market starts in March and runs through usually November. That's the farmers market on Saturdays, it's like an amazing gathering place of new people and residents and all sorts of visitors. It's really great. And I do think that the art farm's going to sort of blow people away, mostly the second half of the year with this huge Under the Tent series that they're going to do, which I think is going to be phenomenal. And I think we've been waiting for it, right? We've been cooped up in the house through the pandemic, and this will all be outdoors. It'll be safely under tent, super cool, new programming. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people.
I think so too. I think you're exactly right. It's going to be new and different, which I think is going to be phenomenal for us.
Phillips, can't wait to see you in a couple weeks down here or in New York. And we thank you so much for coming on Serenbe Stories.
Thank you. I loved it. And it's great to see you all. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person very soon.
Enjoy the conversation, and thanks all you're doing to really connect, not just coming, but really connecting. That's a great experience for you and your family, but also that's what adds to Serenbe.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Steve. I really appreciate it. Thanks for creating Serenbe.
Great fun. Okay. See you soon.
Bye.